bud. Go back smaller.
No, right?
How's the recall stuff in your system going?
It's getting better.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's improving. I think it's fine.
Okay. We're gonna practice and rehearse that again today. Remember how you practice it, and then there's another half to that. The recall exercise. Any questions before we get started?
I think sometimes he's like not as good on his leash walking.
Okay.
So is that just a matter of us adapting?
Correct. Right. So one thing is personality shifts. As he gets older, so like 6 months of a year are two pivotal personality shifts for dogs. 2 years, so it's like 6 months is terrible to his brain, teenager body. 1 year is teenager brain, adult body. 2 years is adult dog. That's how I explain it to people. And during that time, you might get like over teenagers, challenging and stuff like that. Similar for dogs. It's a really simple answer is if you notice like, hey, you're digressing with this training, it's just you just break.
Yeah, I do kind of feel like that.
Yeah.
But just when we're walking.
Yeah.
I was also going to say marking excessively. Every black.
He's anywhere you can.
He lifts his little legs.
Because he's unneutered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you planning on neutering him?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll resolve it.
Okay.
It should. Yeah. So marking is a testosterone-based behavior. So anything that is testosterone-based, when you neuter, it typically takes about a month, depending on when you neuter. If you neuter now, it should be a real quick turnaround. But like I have another dog that's doing a morning train with us, and he was 5 years old. He's unneutered, and every morning, like he was humping in bed, he was humping the other dog in the house, like, right? So they got him neutered because I told him, like, trust me, it's gonna make life easy. Because the dog's got in a fight. He tried to mount her, and then she's like, don't do that. That's behavior. So I was like, trust me. So then they end up neutering them, and then within the week, they're like, yeah, everything stopped. I'm like, oh yeah. So marking is within that category. I just don't recommend neutering when it's like aggression, because people think that's part of the aggression, but it's not. It's something totally different. But things like marking, mounting, the need to replicate, and all that stuff is testosterone or hormonal based. That's spaying or neutering as well. Okay. Yeah, so when you go on your walks now, just look at your number. If it's been 16, and then try 20, 22, 24, what have you. And it should be just like it was before, okay? He's gonna get more tough. So like me growing up, when my mom used to spank me, so, like, okay, that was effective. And then I got to a point where then my dad spanked me because I needed firmer correction. You know what I'm saying? So for dogs, the same thing. He's gonna toughen up as he gets bigger. And your level might go up just even when he's not doing anything like walking. It's just his normal number will go from 16 to like 28 or whatever. Okay. Anything else? All right. So we'll go and leash him up. We'll get set up, and we'll go over here, and we'll get started. I'm gonna move her stuff over. Yeah, do it. We're using the keyboard now, right? Yes. You can pick up those. Okay, that's what we were. Yeah, and I'll show you how to do it with the one leash. Oh, she's gonna send the other thing that you ordered. Do you want this? Or do you want? There was like a misprint or something, so they have to reorder it, and they're gonna ship it to us. Alright.
The other kind of, I guess what maybe the other thing that was happening was like he was being super staying by us when we're trying to practice, so we weren't like maybe getting the full experience.
Sure.
Of him like roaming and then coming.
Sure. So go ahead and bring him over. I'll explain that. So now that we're putting rules, man, he's got so big. I told you.
Don't scare me.
I told you. Remember, during the call, I was like, hey, he seems small now, but Reminds me of growth spurt, right? So I don't think it's gonna get much bigger. Like looking at his paw, it's really.
Yeah.
Probably 35 max. The last time he weighed it was 29 a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
A week ago.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, I don't feel like it's bigger, but you know, it's funny. I had two clients. One got a mini golden doodle, and the other one got some like golden doodle. The ones that got the mini golden doodle ended up with a really big dog, and the ones that wanted the big dog got the mini golden doodle. Okay, because since it's a new breed, you know, the genetics aren't there yet. So when they have a litter, like they really don't know until they get older. So with you hovering around you, because now we're doing the recall stuff, he's thinking like, well, if I can stay by, I'm safe, right? So what I suggest is we want to build comfort in the sense that we want him to go back to being relaxed, is go to the park, loose break, and you're just walking with them and ignore him. Because a lot of people are like, come fight, right? Go fight. And the dog's like, right? Because he doesn't know what to say. So he's just thinking, I'm just going to stay close to this, and you're putting a lot of energy here. So I just ignore them, and I walk, and I'll like, if anything, I'll just like move backwards so that he can't really deal with me. And purposely walk by trees and bushes, get his attention. Then I'll like stand over to the side, mind my business, you know. Then he might run over, I ignore him. And then, you know, you're trying to be real, just like indifferent. And eventually he's like, oh, you say break, and then we do this stuff, and nothing ever happens when I'm sniffing. And then you'll start to see him get more comfortable, okay? If it takes you time to get him to go back to that degree of freedom and comfort, I wouldn't immediately start practicing recall. Because then you're just gonna create it again, right? So then I wait till like he's super comfortable. And then I start to sporadically pop him in there and then let him go back to playing again and ignore him for 20 minutes before doing anything, okay? That's why I call it recall takes the longest to teach. Because you're trying to make it more realistic, and when the dog's hovering around you, they'll really give you that ability.
So like we might have to wait 5, 10 minutes, you know, like you have to wait.
Exactly. Okay. But the important thing is that you're different here. Okay? So going to show, so what we'll do here is now that we moved the black leash, right? You're gonna grab by the collar on the orange leash. And it's the same thing, except now when Austin calls loose, you know when to let go. Okay? With the first time when we're doing this, we use the second leash to make it a bit easier. But at this point, you can just go down. Okay? So go ahead and just show me what you remember from before.
Moose, come!
Good.
Break.
Let's try 2 more.
He really just does well when he can do
Like on this.
Yep, just go and bring him over to Danielle, and she'll grab him again. Well, he's recognizing the environment.
Yeah. He's like exceptionally good at
Should I wait a little or just...
Whenever you're ready.
Moose, come!
And what's your number?
35.
Okay.
Break.
Good. One more, then we'll swap.
Now, are we supposed to get him to sit down by us?
Once he completes it, yeah. If we did that last week, that's what we do again. Yep.
Moose, come! Moose, come!
There you go. Good. We'll swap now. We'll do 3 more. Good. Tap for the sit. Now praise. Good. 2 more.
He doesn't know.
Yeah. So go ahead and grab him again. So you want to wait till Danielle calls him. Yeah. So that's why we do the hold, because now he's just going like, oh, I know what we're doing now, right? There you go. Good. Tap for the sit. Add a boy. Praise, 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 praise. Good. And one more. Oh, you're fine. Yep. Tap, tap. There you go. Good.
That was a real scenario.
Yeah. No, he started to detour. He did. Tap, tap. Take a step back. Tap,
Trying to get
tap. Keep back. Tap. Keep back. And start to. There it is. Right there. There it is. Turn to face him. So turn to face him. Backwards. Tap. Tap. Right there. Wait. Now praise. And then here, go ahead and relax. Heel and walk over here. Yeah, and continue this way. Now slow to a stop when you're ready. Tap for the sit. Tap. That's fine. I'm not going to care about that right now. Okay? So, on that last one, in terms of what you're doing, you're good. You guys are doing the step back, tap, moving backwards. Good. That's permanent. Okay, we always do that. Visual cue for moose. On this last one, you did everything correct, but for the last part, he landed over here, and you went and closed that gap, right? And we want moose to close the gap. So when you turn and you move back, you saw how close he got? That's recall. Like, I want him to go to my immediate space. I don't want him to be 2 to 3 feet away. I want him here, okay? I don't care where, right, left, front, back, even between the legs, but in my immediate space. So he started to get like tangled or distracted, and I was like, keep it going, right? So in life, there's gonna be distractions. So like right there with the leash, where he's like, what's this? This is annoying me, and you're going, you need to get your butt over here. That's technically realistic. Because when you call him, maybe he's playing with other dogs, maybe he's chasing something, running towards something, maybe there's something that's bothering him, and you're telling him, hey, I know that's, you're not liking whatever's going on right there, but get your butt over here, okay? That's always the most important part of it. So as long as he's not terribly tangled up, where it looks like, ooh, he might break his leg there, I make the dog work through it. Because, you know, when owners see the dog tangled in the leash, they're like, oh, and they unravel the dog, and I'll go, no. Use that to your advantage. Because life's going to throw you stuff, and that's when you're going to need your obedience to be functional. And even though that's not a realistic context for there to be no leash, the distraction itself is realistic, right? Then I said, tell him heel, and then walk over here, okay? And you did good. He was at your side, you slowed down, you stopped. He stopped with you, he didn't get the sit immediately. A couple of taps, he adjusted, but he put the butt down, good. So that was just to give you a glimpse of the level of obedience that you could obtain with moose to the point of no leash. You just have to practice, okay? And I'll educate you more about that at the end. So all that looked good. So what we're gonna add here is an extra step to the recall. So if you call moose, he comes to you. If you were to do this, what should moose do? You should follow it. Yeah, okay. So like heel means walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop, right? Recall, very similar. Come to me, stay with me, and put your butt down when you're here, okay? So if I call moose, he arrives, and if I decided to do this, he should just naturally move with me, okay? So we're gonna add what I call my sidestep exercise. So once we call moose, everything stays the same. He's here, we let him settle, put his butt down first, we're gonna wait a moment, and you're gonna take like 2 steps back. If moose doesn't move with you, you would promote, bring him in. Then 2 steps to the side, promote, if he doesn't move, you bring him in. If he moves with you, we don't do anything, okay? We do wanna make sure that he settles each time so that he puts that butt down before we move to the next step. This does one of 2 things. One, it's teaching moose to really stay to the body to help prevent premature runaways. You know, so if you have the dog park and you call him, he runs to you, I don't want him running back to the dogs again. So it's kind of cemented. When I call you, you're going to stay here until I release you, or we go to the next command. Okay, so that's one part of it. The other part of it is to force confusion. So sometimes you'll move and you'll tap and it'll spook the dog and they'll run away from you, right? Now we don't want that. So now if that happens, I can remote him and make him return, and what we're teaching him is, no. Remote never means to run away. Remote always means to run to me, okay? So we're trying to create these mistakes now. I call it forcing mistakes, because once you take that leash off, you want to be confident of we've worked out the kinks, or if you should make a mistake, we've done this enough that he's going to know to return, even if he gets to back up the remote, okay? So who's going to do the first batch?
I have another question unrelated. He's been like, and I just was curious if this is correctable behavior. He would like often pause at us.
Yeah.
Like all the time.
Sure.
All the time, a couple times a
He
day.
doesn't mean all
Like
the
a couple
time.
times.
Does he bark? Is he barking at you, or is he just like bopping?
Well, he groans or moans.
Okay, so he's wanting attention. You can just correct that. So you can either do the bonker, but you would do that immediately. The first time he does it, or the moment you think he's gonna do it, like he walks up to you and you know, like, oh, he's gonna bop me, right? Boom, you would correct him prior. So then he can't even think about doing it. I would suggest doing the bonker because it's more so related to you and not the e-collar, okay? But technically you can use the e-collar, but when he's not wearing it, he's still gonna do it. So go ahead and grab his leash to keep him by you, Daniel. And I'll coach you through this, but fairly simple. You'll start off with just a normal recall.
Let's come.
Good. Now wait. Good. And you here, try, yep, backwards. Tap, tap, tap. What's your number?
35.
Let's go to 40. Now go to your right. Direct to your right. Tap, tap. Wait right there. Tap. Good. And now, to your left. Tap, tap. Now backwards, tap, 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 tap. Wait. Good. Go ahead and heel forward. So when you broke away right there, forward. That was the confusion I mentioned earlier. Okay. So you wouldn't call his name forward. You would simply go to remote to correct him. Okay. And you're gonna walk towards Danielle. Slow to a stop when you're ready. Tap for that auto save. And break, and then she'll take it.
Break.
Very good. There we go. Good.
Am I supposed to give him a little tug?
No, not anymore. You're good. But good memory.
Let's come.
Yeah.
Let's come.
Good. Tap for the sit. Right, now backwards, tap. Don't say anything. Back, tap, 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 keep back. Good. Back, 2 steps. Tap. Right. Back, tap, 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 keep back. Uh-oh. Just go ahead and grab your end of your leash and then reset, just back, tap, tap. Good. Keep back, tap, 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 and reel in as you back up. Keep back, you got it, keep going, keep going, keep going. Yep, pull, 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 pull. Yep, keep going, pull, 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 pull. Keep going, keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. There he goes. Good. Go down to 13. Back 2 steps. Right. Tap to the sit. Tap. Tap. Good. Back 3 steps. Good. Wait for it. Now to your left 2 steps. Tap. 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 Good. One more time. Again. Again. You got it. Okay, tap, yep. Now praise. There you go. Break, break. Good. Right, 3 more. That was a really good one. There was a lot of things that you worked through. So we're gonna bring loose Danielle, and we're gonna pause real quick so I can talk about it before I forget. So, what were some things that you did that were incorrect?
Full mistake.
That's one. And you caught yourself. Yeah, you stalled, right? You're like, and I'm like, pull, pull. I'm like, pull, pull, right? Emotionally, right? You're probably like, I'm assuming. Yep. So the reason why we push through that is because, again, realistically speaking, whenever I've had a client be like, Jesse, you know, coyotes, running towards the street, chasing a rabbit towards the street, running away because someone blew up a fireworks. They're in the mode of, I need to make my dog come back, and it's emotional. You're scared. Your dog is actively running away. And you're jacked up on the collar, and your dog is yipping while they're running away. So now you're inflicting discomfort at a very high level, right? Very emotional. But they get the dog back, right? Because they push for it. So right there, that's a very simple context. Right? I'm not trying to talk down on anything, but very simple. But you can see how emotionally it is hard. Okay, so when we do these things, I don't just think about training the dog. I think about training you as a person and a handler. That if things go south, you're like, get over here, right? Because you're not going to have that leash always. So the faster you're pushing through it, you know, the faster you're going to make them come back. So think of that. Reimagine that scene as him not stalling, but him running towards the street. You're not going to want to delay and fight with yourself in that moment. So when you condition yourself here, when it's a controlled contact, we're not worried about him getting away. And when you got the leash slip happen, we went, reset, pick it up, continue where we were. Now you know why we use a long leash. We're prepping for realistic scenarios, okay? Otherwise, you did good. You did make it happen, you did return, and I don't know if you noticed, but after you did that, he was moving with you without even needing the taps until the last one, right? And then we caused some confusion. And there was one where you were like 8 feet away and you tapped him and he was kind of like that John Travolta meme where he's like looking around, right? And then finally he got his attention and then he walked over and he figured it out. just do the remote, okay? So right there, most people would, right? Or they would physically keep reeling them in and go, no, remote. Because if it's off the leash, that's your only line of communication is that remote collar. Okay? So we're gonna do a couple more, then we're gonna swap handlers. That was really good. Good job. You're good.
Miss. Yep, that back. Good. There you go. Right there, that's good.
Now all the way, that's not all the way. Back, tap. Right, a little more, back tap. Now, from the hip, tap. 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 Back, tap, 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 back, tap. Keep it back. There you go. Good. Now pause. There, and break. Good. And 2 steps to your left. Tap, tap, tap. Good. That's good. To your right. Tap, 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 back, tap, tap, tap. You got it. Good. Pause. Sit. Now break. That boy. Break. Break. Good. One more.
I just can't believe like he's not doing much at 38. Because we barely go, we go up to 36, but
Yeah, that's why it's, again, the situation. It can be potentially the heat. So when we practice, I would suggest people practice different, not only like environments this way, but environments weather-wise. When it's raining, snowing, thunder, all that stuff. Because he's not going to be 100% in every contact, right? With the heat, I've had dogs, their number is like 20, and it's so hot, their number is 100, but they respond like it's 20. Okay, then we rest in the shade, you would dip it back down to 20, because the body's just so overheated that they don't, this is nothing, okay? So we're going to do one more. We're going to bump it, you're at 38, we're going to go to 100. We're going to go to 40.
Not funny.
That joke never gets old though.
For you.
Miss, come.
Yep,
Miss,
back. Attaboy, good. Attaboy, great trace. Stop. Backwards. 1, 2, that's good. Tap. Tap. Back. Tap. Yep, better. That was quicker. Right there. Hold. Excellent. To the right. Good. Tap. Sit. And to your right again. And praise. Good boy.
Break.
And break. And swap.
That was getting better, eh?
I know he's getting bigger.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I know this game.
He loves his mommy.
Try to hang out this way. Yeah, you don't back it.
Those come.
Backwards. Step. To the left.
last one. These guys. And to the right.
Feel.
Usually people like to keep on them.
So that's what it's supposed to be. Forward, bring this to Austin.
I know I have to try harder. He's attached to it.
Well, I take care of him more.
I know.
Does anybody do more training than the other?
Not really train. Like, yeah, she'll walk him a couple, like, more. But just normal walks.
Training, but yeah, I do walk him more.
Yeah. So that run to you, I'm not saying that was bad, but that's more attachment based than it is like obedience based. So it's attachment like in an unhealthy way, but technically like in this kind of setting, it'd be beneficial,
Yeah.
right? But technically not healthy. So, but that's what, you know, for you, Austin, as your visual, like that's what you're trying to create as well, okay? And that you would just obtain through obedience, okay? Break.
Right.
We'll do 4 more.
And I love how attached he is.
Yeah, that's
Until he's like chewing up drywall
to get
and
to you.
doorknobs. That does happen. Yeah, it's pretty crazy with dogs.
Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. False alarm. Hey, fuck.
When I hear him crying,
Tree.
like I
To the tree. To the tree. To the tree. No, I got him distracted.
There you go. That was good. Good. Back. Right. To your left. Tap to the sit. Good. Break. 3 more. There you go. Yep, you got it. Good job. Try popping it up. There you go. Back tap. There you go. Good. There it is. Attaboy. Good. Good. Tap. Right. Tap. Back. Tap. Back. Tap. Back. Feeling your leash a little bit. Feel it in. Tap. 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 Keep really. Tap. Tap. Keep going. Tap. 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 There it is. Good. And relax. Good. Get the slack. Good. Tap and sit. Tap. 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 Bump it 3 levels. You might have moved it when you scratched. Tap. Tap. Tap.
Yeah.
Bump it 3 levels. There it is. Good. Okay. Backwards 2 steps.
Here we go.
Tap. Tap. Bump. Tap. 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 Yep, go ahead and bump it.
Is it on his back?
What's your number? Tap. Tap. 55. It's okay. 55.
What am I?
I mean, he's not hurting.
Tap. 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 60. Tap. 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 65.
Can we try the noise to make sure it's on?
Tap. 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 70. Tap. Tap. Trust me. Tap. 75. Tap. 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 80.
It's not doing it.
Tap. 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 There it is. Okay. So break. Bring Moose over here.
One and 100.
So I did it on purpose. You know why I had to do that? Right. And in real life, what might happen is you gotta create that. You gotta make it happen. Okay. So again, control concept. We're not worried. We're not running. We're not scared. We're on a 30-foot line. But you see how that gets uncomfortable, right? Doubt sets in, right? And then you go, should we test it? And typically we would, right? But in this moment, I said this is a teaching moment. Because let's say it is fitted too loose, right? But maybe one day you fit it too loose and on that day something happens. You need to make it respond, okay? It's getting yourself used to that. Now in an emergency situation, you would not be going that slow. It'd be, I'm turning it up and tapping and going up really quick, right? But it's getting used to that, like we don't have connection, make it happen. It's learning lesson there, okay? So, I knew nothing was going to happen because, like you said, he's not hurting, right? We weren't seeing any clear visuals. So by the time 80 hits, he's not feeling 80. He probably just felt 25 because of the connection, the fur, the body heat, all that stuff is a variable. And now you're also learning that about Moose. Oh, on a hot day when we've been working for 45 minutes, his number might be as high as 80, but he's not perceiving it at 80. He's perceiving it lower because of the body. Okay, so we can go back, we'll adjust our collar, and we'll go back down to our typical operating number of 35 or so. Excellent. Questions so far? We learning a lot today? Okay. Oh, nice turn. And watch the tree. To your left. Tap. Tap. Bump. Tap. 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 Tap, tap, tap. Tap. Tap, tap, tap. There. Good. Heel forward. What's your number now?
42.
Okay. Tap forward. Tap, tap. There he is. Now slow to stop. Excellent. So right there, you went from 35 to 22. Okay. But I didn't tell you to bump it there. Right? Huh? No, I did tell you to bump it. But I didn't tell you to bump it again. Right? Do you know why I didn't say bump it again? What else? What did Moose do when we did 22? Yeah. We got connection. On the 75, 70, there was absolutely no response. So on 42, I saw it, and instead of raising it, I said tap, 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 tap. So that tap, tap, tap is similar to raising the number without raising the number. So imagine like that, right? Right? That we were able to create the same thing without raising the number. So e-collar is super nuanced. Okay, super, super nuanced. And now you're starting to learn that there's other rhythms, levels, connections, variables. All those things are now coming into play. Okay, that's real life. So now when you're working with Moose, you're having more tools in your toolbox. Okay, the more you have, the more control you're going to have over Moose. Questions? He's doing good. I like the speed. I like the returning stuff. So this section of the exercise, you wouldn't like drill it out as much as we did today. I would throw it in occasionally. Okay. I would say for Moose, definitely important to practice, especially for Austin, because you saw a lot of those times he did get confused. Okay. And he actually thought about it with you, but then he self-corrected and returned. So that was good. Now he's starting to like build a concept of what it means. And that's what we call proofing our obedience. So we have teaching it, just comes to you, but then we have to account for variables in life. Other things that we may have to do, raising the number, increasing the rhythm, all that stuff. Him getting tangled up, him being distracted by his stick, trying to build your reliability in all those contexts to make it as solid as possible. Okay? So, in terms of his response, when we work on certain things, I like to do it topic by topic. Okay. So right now we just wanted to push Moose to stay by your side when you move. That was the topic for today, and it ended up like we went on some tangents, but that was the sole topic, right? Like let's say I wanted to work on Moose's speed of return, like for Austin, like we kind of lagged a bit, right? That would become my topic for that session. Does that make sense? So you go into it going like, what do we need to improve on, right? So a training session, we're either teaching something new or we're improving upon something the dog already knows. So we know for Austin, it's the speed of the return, and we know it's the sticking on the body. But you would isolate. You wouldn't want to do it all at once, okay? Because if you try to do everything at once, it's too much for him. He's not going to take the core lessons. Does that make sense? So, if anything, I would work on, there's the, for you, everything for Daniel is pretty good. When you called him, he would whip around, he'd start doing that. I like that a lot. So, when we do the recall, we want a complete 180 right away, always off the bat. Because that 180 is what's going to save his life if needed. So, if I call Moose and he's running towards something, and there's a delay before the turn, that delay allows the brain to continue with what's going on. So if he's chasing a rabbit, he hears the command, but that delay of command to response is too long, that in that gap, he's gonna go right back to the rabbit. And when you have immediate 180, there's no time for him to re-engage. He just goes, boom, I'm coming, right? So there's the turn, then there's the speed of the return. So if that's too slow, you'll call him, and you actually saw in the beginning with the stick, right? With the stick, he was kind of like, oh, but that stick. And you tapped him, and then he's like, all right, I'm coming. That's what I'm talking about. So when you have a really super speedy return, he doesn't have time to re-engage the stick, okay? And then also, if he's running towards something super high value, you want to make sure it's immediate, and that's why we push for these levels of, I'd say, like a standard of performance for real life. Okay? So when you work with them in your practice, I want you to be mindful of that stuff. You know, and it might be he had great turnarounds, but he had a really slow return. Then your topic is just a turn, just make sure those are all really good. And the next time you go to practice, you got a good turnaround, now movements become here faster. You can create that with playing in this house. Okay? So like yesterday, I had a lab puppy, same age, and she was like rolling on the ground, rubbing the collar, not wanting to do anything, right? And we're doing recall. Okay, we started low, we were like at 32, and the dog just kept fighting the collar, and I go to 36. And all of a sudden on 36, she's whipping to the under. Okay? Because it was too low, it wasn't enough for her to, it wasn't important enough to think like, all right, I'm gonna stop with the nonsense. So she kept fighting it, but once we were 36, she's like, fine, boom, and she would shoot towards the owner, okay? So we created speed, just a 4 numbering increment, increase, and got the response from the owner, okay? In terms of making this more realistic, like you mentioned earlier, going to the park, having him be free and stuff, don't want to drill it out, then you'll never leave your side. Let him get comfortable. Let him get used to, if you grab a stick, throw it. Get him used to him being away from you, not always being pulled down. If you go somewhere and it's a bland environment and you don't have distraction to work with, then we talk about, like, with the two of you, how to make this more realistic.
Can you remind us?
Sure.
Because like we went to like one of like the open fields, or like even the enclosed fields, like what we talked about last time on division, near division.
Yeah.
And we went there, like there was nothing, and he wasn't doing anything. He was just, he was doing this.
Yeah. So, if it's the two of you, and you have your long line, you can force the disconnect, right? Because one person grabs Moose. But to make it more realistic, is you grab Moose, and then like Austin would be walking away from Danielle. Okay? And as you're walking away, Danielle calls Moose. So you're recreating that movement, that away movement. Anytime someone calls their dog and absolutely needs to return, is to the dog's moving away. Okay? Then once you feel like, hey, he's doing it really well, he'll turn around, and you want to vary when you do the recall, because if you always do it at a certain distance, he will learn the distance, and he'll start whipping around the trip. Okay? The next one would be, okay, we got it on the walking, then somebody takes Moose and they're running away with him, and then the other person calls them, right? And then you can be like running with him, being loose, playing with him, throwing the stick, and then randomly call him. So you're doing it while he's engaged in the activity, or he's actively running away from the handler, okay? So that's recreating more so realistic context if you can, like, because you still want to practice, but right now you're building comfort with being loose. But then if you wait for them to get comfortable, by the time you practice it, 3 weeks have already gone by, right? So you can do this to kind of force the disconnect, get those reps in, as you also work on him building comfort with being loose, okay? So you want to divide those times up, go for a walk, and the plan is, you're just looking for them to be loose, okay? And then you go for a separate one where it's like, okay, now our intent is to drill these out back to back because we're still working on building comfort, okay? And then once you see that's good, then you slowly incorporate the recalls, still on leash, but when he's loose doing his dog, right? Questions? So, if you'd like to start dabbling the heel stuff with your long line, it's the same exact stuff, except now you have 30 minutes. Okay? And if you want to make it a little easier, like walking down, like let's say the riverfront and stuff, because that's what we did with Fitz, is you just cut it in half, like you not cut it, but just shorten it in half, and then Moose here, leash in your right hand behind you, so there's a really big U, and then you're just walking. Okay? So the reason for that is, for dogs, when you walk with your leash, the leash is a visual. So I've had dogs be spot on, and then when the owner drops the leash, the dog goes, what do I do? Okay? Because there's no longer that visual. So when we do the long leash, you're technically removing the visual because it's on this side. Can trip him up, but we're not worried about is he gonna run. Okay? So everything stays the same. Pivots, your left turns, all those things, slowing down, picking up speed, heel, left leg, it all stays the same. But now you have a 15 to 30 foot mistake line. So if I'm walking with Moose and maybe he goes, he stops walking, I keep walking, but now we're getting further and further, and I'm remoting until eventually he runs up to my leg and goes, oh crap, that's what I'm supposed to do. Okay? So you can start playing with that now. Your core homework will be, of course, the recall. But if you practice the recall, like we do it in randomly here and there with the heel, then you can do that then. Or you walk to the river, swap your leash out. When it's quiet, heel, and practice as you're walking up the river. Okay? Anything else? Alright, good job. He's pooped. I'm pooped.
So tired. Thank you so much.